Welcome to the Clydesdale Media Weight Loss Journey, where Scott does his weekly check-in with nutrition coach Cheryl Nasso every week live on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notifier so you first know when new episodes come out. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the holiday edition of the Clydesdale Media Weight Loss Journey. As I was off work today and able to easily schedule this today. Yesterday was insane with everything I had going on, and I appreciate Cheryl for allowing us to move that to today. So thank you for joining it. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Damien, for being here, and anybody else who's in the chat. Appreciate you all. What is going on?
Yeah, no worries, man. Like, it is what it is. We always got to work around the work schedule, the full-time pay the bills type of a thing.
Yeah, I also had a doctor's appointment right when we were supposed to go on the air. So
yeah. So, I mean, I know it's not weight loss related, but it is relevant to your journey. I know you're back on antibiotics now, but so what was the conclusion with the random sponge left over?
So yesterday was to determine if there was any damage done internally to the nasal passage from that being there. And really nothing significant damage was done other than that there's still infection in there.
Yeah, that just sucks. Yeah.
So but nothing, like no damage to the actual structure of the nose or the sinus.
Okay, good. Well, I'm really proud of you for this past weekend. I know that you went to the Olympic trials with your mom. How was that?
It is one of those experiences that is like a lifetime memory that will always be there. So if people probably don't know this, in 1986, all the way back, like before textbooks and pencils, I actually made the U.S. Swimming Nationals. And that was not an Olympic year. It was just nationals in Orlando, Florida. It was a big trip. We went down to do that. So now, kind of like 40 years later, going to the U.S. Olympic trials, which is the national competition for the United States, and seeing the best of the best. And the cool thing is I got to see the event that I swam in high school and college on Saturday night, which was super cool. Got to compare my times way back then to what they are today. And it's just amazing where athletics is. It was a cool venue, football field. They built a pool on the field.
That's awesome.
Filled it with fire hydrants from outside. And then they're going to drain it back out. They're going to purify it all and drain it back into the river when it's all done.
Yeah. You got Damien looking for some hot photos of Scott from back in the day.
There are pictures of young Scott in Speedos. Why didn't they have tech suits when I was around? Like there's so much more coverage to the tech suits they wear today than the Speedos we had in the 80s.
Yeah, it's funny. But I mean, like, one of my main goals for you in our check-in last week was like, when you're out of your routine, it's like really hard for you to stay consistent with your tracking. And you tracked this weekend, which I was like super happy with. And it's really not about, even if what you logged was 100 or 200 calories off, it's like, we've got a ballpark figure. We know about where you were. It holds you accountable to how many times you're eating, what little random snacks you might be grabbing. So I'm happy that you did that this weekend. So I was really proud of that.
Yeah, we ate a good breakfast before we left. It was I will admit, my blood sugar dipped right after the prelims in the morning because it had been from breakfast till then since I had eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And so we rushed to get something to eat right after.
Yeah.
My mom is aware of all that kind of stuff and how it can affect someone. And so we just went and did that. And
yeah. I think that it's so important. Like, it's hard. It's hard for some. So it's really easy for me to remember when I'm going to be gone all day to make sure I have a couple of snacks with me. I call like my ice meals. Like I told you,
yeah,
having those, like, but when I leave my house and I know I'm going to be gone from like 7 a.m. until who knows when, I always bring like a protein bar or like a jerky stick or something just to have it just in case. An apple, just something so like just in case. Because what if you are like so in the moment that you don't even want to leave for lunch? Like now you have something at least to hold you over. So it's just a good habit for people to get into, just to always have something if you know you're going to be gone for that long, you know? So there's no downside to doing that, you know? So bring a little fanny pack.
They were very restrictive in what you could take in.
Yeah.
It had to be in a clear plastic bag.
Yeah.
You got checked as you went in.
Well, they got clear fanny packs.
There was no food though.
Yeah.
Like
So
that's the only thing. But we could have eaten something like a protein bar on the way in,
right, exactly. Yeah.
in the Uber on the way to the venue.
Yeah, exactly. It's just having something with you. And then Father's Day, didn't do much for Father's Day, right?
Yeah, we got back from Indianapolis at like noon. My mom left at 1, and then I was home alone all day.
Yeah. Gotcha. Just
'Cause my
chilled.
wife and daughter went to Pennsylvania to spend with my wife's father. And it was a bummer. I put it in my weekly check-in that like my daughter didn't even call that day, and it was really kind of a bummer.
Have you talked to her about that?
I did.
Yeah. Was there a reason? Did you just forget?
Uh
Personal. Don't need to go into it.
no, it's not personal. I don't know how much of it I truly believe, but
Mhm.
she said that she thought I was gonna be with my mom all day. Didn't
Yeah.
want to interrupt that. Um, but if I'm with my mom, she can still call. Like we
Yeah.
can have a 2-minute conversation.
If I'm being honest, it was probably a harmless, oh shit, forgot to call dad. And that was her cover up story.
Yeah, but we talked it out Monday night, and
Yeah.
it's all good now.
Good. Awesome. So how are you feeling this week in terms of hunger, appetite, all that good stuff? I mean, check-in was pretty much standard, but I like to always just double check with you.
Yeah, no real like I'm just eating on schedule. I'm not like yeah, I did have cravings for ramen yesterday. So
Mhm.
I made ramen and did I or was that I made ramen and bone broth one day
Yeah.
and I was craving it.
Yeah. I don't know that I saw that, but I might have missed it. I know you had some sushi this weekend which was not normal for you. Like
It's
you're not
that's like a special that's what I got myself for Father's Day.
yeah. Yeah, you had that on I think Father's Day and on Monday too, but that was nothing crazy. You had a sushi, a tuna roll, and a spicy salmon roll. I don't remember seeing the ramen, but I probably missed it somewhere. Um,
It might have been today. I've been up since 8 doing stuff around that and maybe that's what I had for lunch.
yeah,
I
that's
don't
fun.
know.
There's a ramen noodle out that's like a higher protein one, but I know you just can't touch the. Do you get the top ramen?
I do, but and then I put bone broth in instead of
That's what
water.
I grew up. That's the reason I say because that's what I grew up on. I never liked the cup of noodles ones. This damn light. The cup of noodles, that's like in the cups. I didn't like those near as much as the one that came in the block. So
No,
that
no,
was always me.
the ones in the cup taste like styrofoam.
Exactly. The bricks are, but they do make a ramen noodle that I see because it's because ramen is fried. I think the noodles they're cooked and then they're fried and then they're like reheated. It's typically higher in fat. Like your noodles will have like 10 grams of fat just in the noodles or whatever. So there's a brand I found. I forget what it's called. Halo maybe. They make like a ramen noodle and they have broths and everything to make your own ramen. But yeah, I like ramen. It's good stuff. It's funny that you mentioned that. You know what I made this weekend? Oh, I should celebrate like talking nutrition. I made homemade wonton soup this weekend. Like I made my own little wontons. I will never likely do that ever again. It was very time consuming, but it came out delicious. I've been helping my mom eat healthier, and she wanted some wonton soup. And I'm like, I can make like a high protein wonton soup. So I got some bone broth, got some chicken, got the little wheat wonton wrappers. I made up a little wonton soup and I made it. It was really delicious. So good little change up. Speaking of ramen.
Yeah, I know another question you had for me is you said something out of the ordinary was tasty cakes.
Yeah, that was
Let me
random.
explain that real quick.
I need to explain myself. Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna apologize for it. So my wife, because she knew my daughter didn't call on Sunday, went to mom and pop bakery back home, and they make these homemade maple rolls.
Okay.
And I couldn't log it because they don't have anything for that mom and pop bakery.
Yeah.
And so I got as close as I could to what it kind of was. So it
Yeah.
was not a tasty cake. It
Yeah.
was mom and pop shop bakery maple roll. That is one of my favorite things in the world.
I'll be honest, it's probably about double the calories, but we'll call that what it is. It was enjoyable and it was
It
Father's
was
Day
it was
treat.
my Father's Day gift from my
Yeah,
wife.
for sure. It's kind of like when you log a cookie, but it's from Crumble, and you recognize that the cookie is actually 1,000 calories, but you log 300. Oh, similar. But you log a Dunkin' Donut, but you're actually getting like the double size donut you don't even realize. But yeah, I think overall this week's got like huge wins with I think the tracking this weekend. Being in a little bit of a funk mentally, not a huge one, but like the whole Father's Day thing. I know I also mentioned like Mondays being not because you can't get to the gym, but it just has seemed like you've been having a hard time getting to the gym, making Monday more of like an aerobic thing. And I suggested a workout last week. Did you end up doing it or not?
I did.
Okay, cool. How did that feel?
So it's funny because when you look at something on paper, you're like, okay, no big deal.
Yeah.
And then the first probably 12 minutes, I was like, this is really easy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting a lot of rest. And then the last 8 minutes really sucked.
Yeah. So just so the listeners can know, I'm gonna make Mondays like I'm gonna kind of alternate with like a mono Monday and like a kind of like a CrossFit-ish interval workout. So I didn't want to kill you with just boring cardio yesterday. So I did or was it? It's already Wednesday. I'm thinking it's
It
Tuesday.
is.
Every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So 10 sets, 10-calorie assault bike. And then on the odd minutes, 5 sandbag cleans. On the even minute, 5 sandbag thrusters. So I know that you have a sandbag and you like playing with it. So I was like, this will be a fun way for him to start his week.
So the cleans were never got hard.
Mhm.
The thrusters on the last couple sets,
Yeah.
like I didn't want to pick up the sandbag at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my legs were crushed by the bike by the end.
I thought about doing one where it was like in a 2-minute window, do like 15 calories and then max rep cleans and then max rep dumbbell thrusters. I'm like, no, anybody doing max rep thrusters is just like pain cave. It just really is pain cave. So, but awesome. Have you gotten to Polaris yet this week, or are you still kind of working with the one car situation?
Still working with the one car situation. And I was up early today unintentionally. So I did the WOD today, which was I did the strength last, but the Metcon was 3 sets. So the first one was 3 rounds, second one was 2, last one was 1, and it was 100, 200, 300. So I actually did the 100-meter run,
Nice.
and I did bike for the 2 and the 3.
Mhm.
And then it was the first round was dumbbell snatches, which I don't have a dumbbell, so I did kettlebell.
Mhm.
And then the second one was deadlifts. But I didn't use dumbbells because I don't have them. So I had to use a straight bar,
Mhm.
do that. And then the last one was lunges. And they were supposed to be weighted with the dumbbells, but I just did them
So what
without.
was it? The first round was like 3 rounds of a 100-meter run and
It was eight dumbbell snatches
yep.
alternating.
Mhm.
Then it was 2 rounds of the
200-meter run.
200-meter run, and gosh, my brain is shot
I
today.
know.
Not the lunges, the other one. Shit.
I know you just said it, and now I can't remember.
Deadlifts.
Deadlift, yes.
10 deadlifts. And then
And then
the
the
one
lunges.
round was 12 lunges.
Oh, that's cool. Interesting.
And then
Awesome.
the strength was Penlay rows alternating with RDLs.
Cool. Awesome. That sounds fun. So I feel like the only other thing I mentioned for us this week is like we kind of took a little pressure off the scale. Like I wanted you to still weigh in and just not worry about sharing it, but you didn't weigh in. So
So, so
yeah.
when I was at the doctor, I had to weigh in.
But that's not even an accurate weight.
Well, it's lower than I've been ever
Oh,
on
that's
this
good.
journey. And I had stuff in my pockets and shoes on and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So I mean, I'll weigh in. It's not that I have a fear. It's just not it's not my focus right now. My focus is blood sugar and all of that.
Hmm. Why isn't the weight your focus?
Because I want to just feel better and I want to get all my health stuff. My health markers are my focus.
So do you understand? And I think this is hard for people to understand. Yes, you can be underweight and be diabetic, but body fat percentage plays a huge factor in things like insulin sensitivity, cholesterol, and all that stuff. It's not really diet that changes that, it's the changes that the diet creates in your physiology, if that makes sense. So even though the scale might not seem like it's a big deal, it does make you more insulin sensitive or less insulin sensitive. People that have excess body fat have usually are more prone to insulin resistance and other metabolic conditions. It's something that like I don't want you thinking that it's a measure of your success. Your success isn't, and here's the deal, your success isn't even determined by changes in your blood biomarkers or your weight. That's not a measure of your success. And something that we're going to talk about today is goals. Those are outcomes. Those are outcomes of the changes you're making and allow us to make changes. So if the scale isn't the focus, you know
Well,
what I'm saying? So like it
I,
has to be a piece of the puzzle.
I'm probably not saying it in a way that makes sense for other people because everybody's jumping in the chat and
Hmm.
that's I, I'm I want to lose weight. I'm not trying
Right.
to not lose weight.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I'm logging my food and I'm doing the stuff I need to do and I'm working out because I want to lose weight.
Hmm.
But in my head, like I went through this big traumatic event and I don't want to go through that again.
Hmm.
Like just 5 months ago.
Hmm.
Like, so my focus is to be healthy,
Right.
not for that to happen again.
Right.
It's not that I'm like shirking all the other stuff that goes with that.
Yes.
It's just I don't really care what that number is. I know I'm losing weight. Like I'm telling you my clothes are dripping off of me
Hmm.
right now.
Do you
I
want,
saw the scale at the doctor. It was dramatically lower than I thought it was going to be.
okay. But do you understand? And this is where I'm asking you. This is me asking you as not because I expect you to know or not. There's no expectation here. Do you understand why tracking your food is important and why I need to see the scale?
I understand, yes, that you need to see it to know that you're giving me the right advice
But what advice?
on what I am eating and what I am doing.
But why? I'm asking you to if you know because if you don't know the answer, it's a lot of listeners don't know the answer and they're gonna learn in a second. Why does tracking your food matter?
So that we have data to make changes.
And what do we need to change?
I don't know.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking you these questions is because this is one of the reasons why I'm hosting a workshop next week. Fat loss simplified. And I get it. You're not all it's not just about fat loss. It's about health. But a lot of people to get healthy need to lose fat. Okay, that's a blanket statement. Call it what it is. There's people out there that need to lose weight and they're confused. We talked about this last week. Why are people following these carnivore diets and all this stuff? Okay, let's break through all of the freaking confusion out there. Tracking your food does not help you lose weight. Dieting doesn't help you lose weight. What gets people to lose weight is creating a calorie deficit. By tracking your food, it's literally tracking your calorie intake, but also ensuring that the calories you're taking in, you're getting in enough nutrients, you're getting in enough protein, you're getting in enough fiber. Those are the two main ones. Then we're balancing out the carbs and fats. Okay, so tracking your food isn't going to get you to lose weight if you're not in a calorie deficit. And that's why I'm asking you about the weight, because the only way I know if you're in a calorie deficit or not is if I know how much you weigh. And if I'm not seeing weight trends, then you could be tracking your food and not losing a pound. And then 2 months from now, I've been freaking dieting for 2 months and I'm not losing weight. And it's not because you're not doing the work. You're doing the work by tracking your food, but we're not adjusting because we don't know what to adjust. So it's simply just knowing, okay, if this is what's going in and you're consistent with your movement and your workouts, and the scale's either staying the same or it's going up or going down, I can say, hey Scott, we need to make a calorie adjustment. And that's why I keep asking about like making sure we're not missing days and things like that. Because if I don't have that data, I can't tell you what to adjust. You can be doing all the hard work and you could literally track your food every day for the next 3 years and not lose a pound if you don't have the right adjustments. And that's why it's important for you to weigh yourself. Regardless of what other people know, it's so that I can say, all right, hey, can you handle it if I drop your carbs a little bit or drop your fats a little bit? Because we might have to do that to get your scale to move a little bit. Or, hey, maybe we need to pick up the movement a little bit because the scale's not going down. It's not just being scale focused, but if you're going to be putting the work in, you want to make sure that you're getting the return on your investment.
Okay.
Oh, that was easy. Yeah.
I don't know. Again, like there's parts of this where I start to feel overwhelmed. Like, and I guess I'm starting to feel that way right now. And so I'm trying not to like,
It's okay.
there's just a lot going on in addition to all of this. And so I feel like I'm doing really well. And then I'm just missing this one piece. It's okay. I'll figure it out.
But let's underwhelm you right now, right? Because here's the simplicity. Okay. All you have to do on your end is, I think what might be happening is you're worrying too much about what everybody else is doing and thinking and saying versus what Scott needs to do and all that. You are right. You need to focus on a couple of things. Okay. You're tracking your food, you're working out, and you're reporting to me. If I have your weight, your food, I know how much you're moving, that's not overwhelming. You don't have to do any other thinking. Now I'm telling you, great, Scott, your feedback is good, your appetite is good. Let's make these couple of adjustments. There's no overwhelm as long as you're not feeling pressure, as long as you're not feeling external like things that are feeding into that. Or if you are getting like really, really hungry and you don't like express that to me because you're like I mean, I'll be honest, there's people that are afraid of telling me that they're hungry because they're afraid that I'm going to take calories away. I'm like, no, I'm usually going to give you more calories if you're that hungry. Like I'm usually going to say, hey, like let's try and increase a little bit, and see what happens. So, but that's really the main thing. We need that metric. We need that metric because it's just like everything else. You could measure your blood sugar and your blood pressure every single day. It doesn't bother you. Why is the scale any different? So it's just one more metric. So don't overthink it. Don't let it overwhelm you, but just know that it's a part of the picture. That's all. It is one piece it's missing, but it's a very important piece. Because I don't have any other things to look at.
Okay.
So let's put that in there. Okay. I haven't actually been really looking at the comments. So Cheryl likes those high fiber numbers. 100%, because you know what? People undervalue the importance of fiber in their diet. Like it's crazy how unbelievably people are so focused on other details that don't freaking matter, like how much creatine they should be taking, or like what supplements that they need for their gut. Like eat more fiber. Like, so and people are so worried about like cutting out carbs. Why not just eat more high fiber carbs? There's so many benefits to fiber. Talk about inflammation, like it helps remove inflammation. Talk about blood sugar regulation, cholesterol. Okay. But yeah, so that's good. So, and again, underwhelm yourself, Scott. Tell yourself this: you have a coach that's literally telling you exactly what to do. That's it. You could be underwhelmed now. You have all this other stuff going on. Take the thinking off of that away. Like, that's the whole point of having me. Like, I'm here to help you with that stuff.
Okay.
So, something that we talked about last week that I thought was really good is I just have to make a comment. It's crazy, but I won't take creatine because I weigh more. That's just blasphemy. So, do y'all know why? Y'all want to know why creatine makes you weigh more? And it really doesn't. It usually maybe will make your weight fluctuate a pound or two. So creatine helps increase ATP, adenine triphosphate, which is how your body gets energy. It's how your muscles get energy. So typically what you'll see is that when you start taking creatine, because it flushes more energy into your muscles, you'll get a little bit of water retention, but your muscles are primarily water. So it's actually a good thing. Your muscles are fueled. But people are like, oh my God, I'm up 2 pounds. You didn't just gain 2 pounds of fat. It's like literally you're putting fuel in the tank. So it's good stuff. Anyways, so last week you had mentioned maybe talking a little bit about goal setting. And I think it's actually good that we're talking a little bit about the metric that we're talking about today with the scale, because I also want everybody here to know that I'm not scale focused. It's a metric that we can use to adjust actions and things to change it. And so when you mentioned talking about goal setting last week, I want to know what was on your mind.
I don't really know what was on my mind. I'm having difficulty with this because I don't even know how to describe it. And maybe it's the reason like the scale isn't on the top of my mind. Cause like with this weight loss, I have all this excess skin now.
Mhm.
And I have one area that is really, really bad. And I know that if I could get that removed, like it would be monumental for me in my life. And it probably weighs a ton. And so, like, that has been a very negative thing in my head for a long time. And so I was trying to figure out, like, how can I come up with goals? Because I can't change that. Like, I can't, there's nothing I can do that's going to make that skin go away
Mhm.
unless I have surgery.
But you still have weight to lose,
I
right? So
do.
it's,
I
yeah.
do. I just, it is a major frustration in my life. It's
Yes.
a
Okay.
major inconvenience.
Mhm.
It's not a vanity thing at all. It is, it just,
Annoying.
it gets in the way for
Yeah.
just everything.
Yeah. Trust me. I don't have that problem, but I know that there are women that do, and it's frustrating. And I know a lot of my clients that do. Um, but the reason I asked about the goal is what I think I'm hearing is kind of a good thing, okay? Because it's going to go along with our talk today. Is as much as like you have a weight loss goal, like you don't want to be obsessed with like the goal. And if you've never read you've read Atomic Habits, right? We talked about this. Freaking A, Scott. We got to get you on that book, okay? So I love that book. I've read it a number of times. And if you've never read it before and you're somebody that wants to make improvements in your life, it is one of the most powerful books you will read about habit change and building a life that you truly feel empowered to be. So, one of the things he mentions in the first chapter is forget about setting goals, Focus on your systems instead. And he doesn't say this because he wants people to neglect setting goals, because setting goals actually sets the direction of your actions. Like, it's saying, all right, I know that I want to weigh 225 pounds. Like, that's my goal for you, is like, I want you to be at 225. Okay. So we know we have to set a plan of getting there. And tracking your weight is tracking to ensure that we're staying on course with the right action steps to change that. That's why we track our food. That's why we do all these things. But it's important to understand that what I loved about what he talks about is that the systems are really where we live. And he was an athlete, so he gives a lot of analogies around sports teams and stuff like that. And he talks about how, like, you know, the coaches of the best teams out there aren't going to sit there all day and think about winning the Super Bowl, or, winning, the game. They're not going to think about that. They're not going to think about being the champion. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about creating the plays. They're thinking about getting the team to come together. They're thinking about whatever weaknesses they might have. They're thinking about what the opponents are doing. They're coming up with strategies to make them champions. They don't just sit there and be like, I want to be a champion, and think about that. They set the goal of what they want to achieve, and then they focus on the systems. And I hear from you, what I hear from you is that you want to focus on the systems. And you are working on that stuff, like the tracking and all that stuff, but we still need to have the metrics to go with it, because that's where we have to have those things to be able to say, all right, things aren't moving, we just move a little bit. But I really love this. And he talks about some of the problems with setting goals. And one of the problems he talks about is that, like, here's an example. Winners and losers have the exact same goals. So, like, you can have a fat loss goal and be at 420 pounds, and somebody else can have a fat loss goal at 420 pounds. You guys have the same goal. Who's going to be more successful? It's not just about willpower and the person that's more dedicated and more motivated. It's who's actually going to take action and create the right plan that's going to get them where they need to be long enough. Like, it's things like that that people don't think about. Another thing is, like, he talks about is when you're focusing so much on the goal, let's just say your goal is 225 pounds, you're going to get there one day. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to see 225 for the first time. One day you're going to step on the podium. Competing in CrossFit, the handful of times that I've stepped on the podium, that was a snapshot of my time spent leading up to that. That's not what made me happy or brought me joy. It's just a piece of it. So what happens when that's gone? And the reason why I'm saying these things is because, my opinion, when we're setting goals, and I could go into all of the other things he talks about with goal setting, is you want to have a goal based on a result you want, whatever that result might be, 225 pounds for Scott. But you want to set your goals on the action steps. So, like, it might be, I'm going for the next 90 days of 90% compliance on my nutrition tracking. And what does that look like? Okay, I've got to make sure I log, X amount of days out of the next 90 days. What's that? I can only miss 9 days, or whatever 90% of 90 is. It gives you these now actionable steps that you can take. I'm going to make sure I work out 5 days a week, even if it's a freaking 30-minute grinder on the bike, because that's all I have time for. I'm going to make sure I get, whatever, 5,000 steps a day, whatever it is. I'm going to make sure that I don't miss a check-in. I'm going to make sure this happens, because when you now have a goal that's action-based, you can control that goal. We can't control the outcome. We can control the changes that we're making to change the outcome. And that's why, going back to, this is a great topic for today, because if we know what the scale says, and we know you're committed to the action steps, it's not the action steps that we have to change, just some slight number adjustments. And that makes life easier.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, that actually like makes the goal less overwhelming.
Good. Because the goal really isn't,
Working out 4 days a week or 5 days a week
yeah,
as a goal is easier to that's attainable and in my control.
exactly. And that's why I thought this was a great topic because even though the result goal is you want to lose weight or you want to make it to the CrossFit games or you want to hit a 300-pound back squat, you want to get your first pull up, you want to make $1 million this year. Whatever your goal is, you could sit there and think about the goal all day, but unless you're out there fucking doing something about it, you're going to be a loser, right? Like that's just it. Winners and losers have the same goals. But one person is willing to step up to the plate and say, I'm going to lean into these hard things. And I think what gets overwhelming, and obviously you stepped on the scale and you were lighter today, but when people aren't seeing progress fast enough or they're not making progress, they feel like a failure. And that's not the case. When the results aren't happening, it's just a sign that something needs to change. And I think people focus so much on the result that they don't allow change to happen naturally. It takes time. It takes time,
Yeah,
like,
I understand. I do understand all that.
yeah.
I it's just and I'm not making an excuse. I'm really
No,
not.
not at
I've been
all.
through
You're
I've
not.
been through so much, right? Like
Mhm,
my sinuses have been jacked up for 3 years. Like 3 years I've been fighting this.
mhm,
Probably the entire time we've been working together.
mhm,
And then I have 2 surgeries to try to correct it. They neither one works. One gets botched. Now I'm going through stuff because of the botch.
mhm,
Like it's just like those so like it takes things that you would be part of your goal. Like I want to be able to breathe better when I'm going upstairs, or I want to be able to breathe better when I'm in a workout. And you can't because a doctor messes things up, right?
mhm.
Like it so those were the goals I was looking at where I wanted to feel better. I wanted to perform better. And like because of this stuff going on in my life, I can't.
Mhm.
So that's where it gets overwhelming. But I do see your point now that like what I can control is like keep trying.
Yep.
Hit 5 days a week working out. That I can control. Whether I can breathe during the workout or not, I may not be able to control, but I can get my butt there to do it.
Yep. And you've, like I said, you've been tracking your food and you've been doing that things. I think that the other thing that I hear, and this is important for everybody to hear this, is you're giving the scale too much power.
I'm really not. It's not about the scale for me. It really isn't.
But let me
It's
ask you this then, and this
about
is
feeling
yeah,
better.
yeah, agreed. It's about you feeling better, right? But why does weighing yourself overwhelm the situation? That's what I
It
mean by giving the scale power.
it see, I don't think I communicated it well.
Okay.
So I'm not overwhelmed by the scale.
Okay.
I'm overwhelmed by everything going on in my life,
Okay.
and
Got it.
feeling at times where other people's feeling like other people's goals for me are overtaking my goals for myself.
And like I said, dude, like the scale, nobody on here, I'm saying this out in the world right now. Y'all don't have any business knowing Scott's weight. It's
And
nobody else's business.
so so it's not that I'm overwhelmed by the scale, and I'm not even afraid of the scale. It's that it just doesn't like for some reason the last couple weeks I didn't give a shit about the scale.
Mhm. So then let's just do this. If it's not a big deal, then just start weighing it every day again.
I can do that.
Then that's it.
I can do that.
But I will say this not about you, but for other listeners out there, because a lot of people scale avoid. And I think that scale avoidance, and this is not you right now, you're telling me right now that it's not about that. Scale avoidance is just as bad as scale obsession. Because either way, you're focusing on your self worth and your results being tied up on a number on the scale, when you should be thinking about, you know what? Did I check the boxes on the things I need to do to improve myself today? Yes, I did. Did I do the best that I could today? Yes, I did. That scale does not determine that. It's just one more data point. And again, like I said, it just helps me know how to help you this week. That's all. So movingon.com from the scale talk. But if you have not yet read Atomic Habits, I'm going to really, really, really encourage everybody to read Atomic Habits. So,
and I do appreciate the point of the process being more the putting your goals into the process, not the end result. Right? Because anybody can say, I want this down the road, but it's so much easier to manage if it's stuff you can control
yeah.
in the process of getting there.
It's crazy because as much as
It's like, I don't even think I've shared this on here. Like, I've had one beer this year.
yeah, that's awesome.
And for me, because when we first started, that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have not had any alcohol other than that one beer all year.
It's awesome. And myself and a listener here that I talked to is a client of mine. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago because her scale's been a little bit stagnant. And she's like, Cheryl, she's like, you know what? I haven't thrown up in a workout because she was having like really bad GI problems. Like, I haven't gotten sick. I've been able to actually do CrossFit and not get sick. I've been able to eat food again and not feel restricted in my diet because she was told that she had to follow like elimination diets and all this stuff. And it's like, so maybe her scale didn't move. But again, I'm not dismissing all of the other things that you're improving. It's just that metric we want to change too. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you to eat more and be happy. But that's, the main thing with that. And I want to let you know, like, in a lot of ways I can relate, but on a very different level. And I don't talk about this, but I have to deal with something every single day right now that I don't talk about. And I don't, this is not about me. Last year, prior to when I first I shouldn't say when I first met you, when we 2021 CrossFit Games was like when things were starting to kind of go a little south for me in my health. And I had a shoulder problem. I couldn't snatch prior to that year. I remember the snatch workout came up as one of the workouts at the 2021 games. And I think I snatched like 125. Like, I just couldn't snatch like for almost a year. And looking at everything since then, how like I decided to have shoulder surgery in 2023. And like I want nothing more than to be like competitive in CrossFit again. And then every day when I go to the gym, I'm like, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to compete again. I just don't know that that goal is ever going to be there for me. But I keep showing up every single day. And as much as I don't know if that goal is ever going to happen or not again, I've fallen in love so much with the pursuit of it that I don't know that I'm going to start crying right now. Like, I want to be back out on that competition floor. Like, that's why I had shoulder surgery last year. And I got hit over and over again last year with freaking setback after setback, and they're still coming. And I'm just like, at what point am I going to just throw in the towel and be like, you know what? Like, I give up. I don't care. And I'm like, people don't even, I'm not even a competitor at this point anymore. I'm now just a girl that works out in the gym, and I feel like that sucks. And every day, like, I show up and I'm like, I'm totally turning this about my own personal shit right now. But like, I show up every day and I'm like, this sucks. Like, I look at what other people are doing and I'm like jealous. I'm like, I want to be able to just get back to being an athlete again. And like, going into goals, like, I have goals for myself. And I'm like, when you talked about like all you want to do is to be able to breathe and like have your blood sugar, dude, like, I was talking to a friend today. I want to be able to walk outside and not be in pain. And I don't talk about this shit. But like, I still have that goal. but I can't walk without pain right now. And like, that's hard to like, I haven't talked about this shit. So I totally understand. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to still keep that goal in my head that like, yeah, I'll be able to get back to being competitive again. So I understand.
And I know that we're both going down this hole. But like I'm still tracking. I'm
Yeah.
still not drinking. I'm still eating. I'm still weighing my food. I'm still eating good food for the most part. Like you just got to keep showing up. And that's what this is about, right? That's the goal. You got to set those goals. You show up at the gym every day
Yeah.
because you want to get back to where you're going. I need to show up at the gym to accomplish my goals. I need to track every day to accomplish my goals.
Yeah. And last thing I'm going to say though is if you've ever worked with a coach in CrossFit, imagine a coach giving you programming every single week and they're trying to adjust based off of how things are moving to know how their programming is working for your fitness and you never giving them any results. How would they know what they need to change?
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
It's the same. And I've been that athlete. Oh, I didn't turn in my homework, coach. Sorry. Like, but if he doesn't get results, he doesn't know if the progression's working, if how I'm responding to the fitness he's giving me. He doesn't know that stuff. I can be doing the work, but if it's not getting me what I need, getting me where I need to go, he's not going to be able to adjust anything. So, but just something else to think about. And I'm sorry that I went off on my own tangent, but I want to be vulnerable here too, because I know you're putting yourself out there and that's something that I don't talk about, and it is hard to talk about because I mean, I'm walking around the store with my mom and my mom is like, Cheryl, do you want to hold the cart? Cause you're limping. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I don't need a fucking cart. Excuse my language. I'm like, I can walk fine, but it sucks, so, but I ain't quitting. So I'm just going to keep on keeping on. So, although it is deload week for me, so I am learning to listen to my body a little bit. So, yeah, but
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to call it a day. Thank you,
yeah.
everybody, for joining us. Thank you for everybody in the chat and your comments. We appreciate them. With that, we will see everyone next time on Clydesdale Media Weight Loss Journey. Bye, guys.